devices into education, so into the classrooms where learners and teachers can benefit of using the ICT in their education reform and way to teach and to learn towards the new pedagogy reform, using the skills and creating new employees, creating the new children, the new future for the world. 300,000 teachers have been capacitated with a dedicated teacher program, which we have aligned with Microsoft and also with Intel to deploy, to give the knowledge about the teachers, to give them the readiness to use the technology, and also to be able to, not to fear technology while they're teaching, but taking most of advantage from it. In total, what we consider is large-scale projects. We have done 20 large-scale projects over the last 9 years, and we are present in 70 countries worldwide. Just a quick head-up, everything started in Portugal, where we approached and deployed a one-to-one solution for all primary students. We had an achievement in the reach of 100% of all primary students. Venezuela followed with, up to now, between 4 and 5 million units are being enabled to use technology in the classrooms, learning and taking advantage from it. In Argentina, the program is ongoing. It is on the 8th stage right now as we are talking, and every single year they are procuring and buying new equipment and the latest technology to implement in their classrooms as well. The African breach from our company was Kenya in 2016, where we were successful bidder and awarded with a contract to deploy 2/3 of the country of 700,000 devices, more or less, deployed in 14,000 classrooms and trained up to now 40,000 teachers with a dedicated teacher training program, which was aligned with the Ministry of Education. So based on this, many other projects came and are coming, and we are ahead of all attentions in the world where meaningful projects can come, where we can be helped, where we can help also the ministries to design the projects, not to forget issues or not to forget about certain stakeholders should be in place and design the projects together with the ministries. So in terms of the lessons learned, everything starts with the preparation of the project. And for us, it is very important, and I know you know it better than us, but we shouldn't leave anyone behind. Everybody has his part in this project. They are, if we're talking about large-scale projects, budget is a constraint. It's a lot of money countries are investing in education. Everybody knows the purpose of that investment, and we don't question it. However, how should we do it in a meaningful way? You can't shift from one day to the other, and just by implementing, we heard it earlier in other presentations, just deploying equipment into the schools, and then we say, okay, we've done it. We haven't. There is a long way to go, and every stakeholder in the ministries should be taking part of it. So creating a multitasking team, knowing the roles, knowing the objectives, the goals of the project is very, very important, so that at any time we can monitorize it, we can see, are we on board, are we on track, what has been changed, and even technology changes, even the pedagogy changes over the years. So if we are now deploying something in Kenya since 2016, even now something changed, then how can we approach and and change a little bit of the variation of the equation so that we are towards the new goals which might appear. So building up the right team is crucial for us in terms of pre-preparation of the project. Then following is the communication. During the award of a project, we often feel that there is a fear of clear transparency communication between private and public sector. And this is a constraint to the project, because decisions have to be taken quickly. And those decisions can, in certain stages, delay over months. It is an action which will be not beneficiating the project. So, I mean, we have a calendar year of the students, and we know exactly what we want to achieve in that calendar year. So, but in terms of the team of the pedagogy, of the team of the deployment, operational-wise, logistic-wise, we need to have a clear communication. So what we consider is a distinction between the operational communication, where there is a team which is dedicated to the solution itself, deployment, the product. Earlier, Mark East was saying about implementing not the cheapest solution, but the right solution for the right price, which are available in the market. Then also the financial issues. These are public tenders, there are deliveries, there are a letter of credits, there are a lot of financial issues also in terms of a large-scale project. And we need to have, or the private sector needs to have, the person to talk to. This is not a one-man show. This is not one man can decide for everything. But we need to have the directors of departments of each project, of each department responsible, and only that we can do if he knows the goals and in all the constraints a delay may cause. Later on, the management communication. This is for escalation of issues. So if we don't come further on with the directors, or if there's an issue that cannot be solved, let's scale it up to the management communication. Normally, what we have experienced in the project is that the management wants to do everything. And they are lack of time because it is not the only project, it's not the only procurement they're doing. There are a lot of other things, so giving a quite an organogram about the responsibilities and where we want to go, this is for us very important. We have learned that only with a clear communication this can go smoothly. Statistics, very important for the deployment. Having the knowledge of how many students are in each school, how many schools have been electrified, how many schools have connectivity or not, which other schools to be deployed, which teachers could be trained in the first row. This is, again, a long-term partnership, a long-term project, and it doesn't happen overnight. So also the statistics are very important, that we have a clear vision of what needs to be done in what steps. Coming to the chronograms, it's very important that we start with the teacher training. But what sense does it make if we bring in a deep teacher training, a full week of training, and the people or the teachers are capable to use the technology? And then only 6 months afterwards, they receive the equipment in the schools. They will forget. They are not practicing, so that does not make sense. In terms, again, with the communication earlier showed, it's quite important that we have a chronogram of the implementation versus the electrification of the schools versus the connectivity. Not all schools have connectivity. It is also not mandatory. It would help, but it's not. We have an offline solution, but especially the teacher training, so that we create the momentum with them, and the next day or at least the following week, they have the devices in school and can continue practicing, continue teaching with the devices. Coming back to the critical point of it, and this will also start, specifically this point about the pedagogy initial consultancy assessment should start together with the preparation. I put it here because now I just want to deep dive into EdTech projects, all the ministries of Ministry of Education. I think it's the point that will reach you most, is about the initial consultancy assessment. It has to be defined, what is the goal for the project? What do we want to achieve? And how can we take advantage of the existing education or pedagogic reform by introducing, and how can we do it? We cannot shift 100% overnight, so it has to be in timelines. We need to find a way to monitorize it. What do we want to achieve in the beginning? What we don't want to create interruption of the existing project, of the existing pedagogy approach. So content must be aligned with it, and especially the goals for short term, but also for long term, so that we are on track, that we can monitorize that as we are implementing the solution and having benefits of it. And changing if necessary. Don't be frightened of changing if something is not going wrong. This is not a chaos. We are here together to help and to deploy and to continue and put the track back to the right direction we want to achieve. So, initial phase, we need to have exactly the vision to discuss what needs to be done. Then secondly, the monitorization of it. So, reporting, monitoring, control issues, escalation. Oh, sorry. What we need to do in the monitoring projects is to produce those timeline information about the progress towards the practices and analysis in the school. So I already told a little bit about the importance about the monitorization, but the attack pedagogical practice upon different targets in the community. So they are critical. We have students we want to teach better. We have the teachers, they need to learn and to be able to teach better. And we have also the wider community, which is not only the stakeholders in the schools, but also the ministries. Everybody should be able to have access to the data, access to how to monitorize, and to be able to have a critical thinking about, no, this is not what we intended to do, but we need to change. So only with the big data analytics and with the monitoring solution, we can be certain that we are on track and all the money spent in the project is meaningful and is helping us. We have learned about the jobs of tomorrow. Coding is essential, but it has to be start now. It has to start with the teachers. It has to start with the right pedagogy approach. And also the teachers itself. We have a rich testimony about the teacher themselves. I went to Kenya, I had a discussion with teachers. Of course, the younger teachers are very keen of implementing it, using it, and experiencing in how to take advantage of it. But even the elders one, they were just waiting for the retirement, and they say, no, I have a new goal. I have new experience. My profession is being developed. There is professional development inside the teacher, which is, and again, the gentleman from Miami said, can we pay the teachers a little bit higher wages so that they get the importance of it? I absolutely agree to that one, because the teacher, and we heard it from Botswana, I think, or from Uganda, they are the gods in the classroom. They are the idol of our children. So they need to respect them, and the professional development of those teachers in the short term is the next shift what we need to do to give them the capacitation. And only if we analyze and go through all the preparation of the projects, if we are really certain where we want to go and give them the right training, and for us, this is 80% of the project is leaned on the teacher capacity and capacitation of it. Finally, the G-local company. When you go to tender, when you want to implement, it shouldn't be a foreign company from whichever country it comes, Portugal, from China, from India, whoever comes into your country, explain you how to do it. No, be local. Involve community, involving the local industry. In Kenya, we have experienced the best way to do it is to partner with a local university. Who better can train the teachers than themselves in the institution itself, but also building up the devices locally with the local manufacturing industry, giving the scale up for enormous business cases in the country. So keep the knowledge, the partners you are choosing for your future investment in your country, that they are sure, give you assurance that their knowledge will stay in the country. That after 2 years, 3 years, you know how to do it. You are not depending on anybody else. So that knowledge, we have the benefit of having it by her learning from you, learning from Kenya, learning from Portugal, learning from, but we are keen to share and to deploy and to leave it in the countries so that the country can be sustainable. Otherwise, you will be always depending on the foreign companies and countries, companies and industries. So from us to being geolocal is absolutely mandatory. And I would now, as what we hope and what we expect to be the next large-scale project invites the Deputy Minister of Education, Professor Armindo Ngonga, to the stage while he is presenting the vision of Mozambique and how they are planning to implement the solution of technology into the schools and the reason and the background why. Please give him a clap while we're playing a video of Mozambique.
Good morning, everybody. Honorable ministers, deputy ministers, ladies and gentlemen. As you have seen, we've got a lot of challenges. We've done a lot on education. We've worked hard to have our education system working, but still, we do have a lot of challenges. Some years ago, we used to say that we had 3 battles. One was the battle of access to education. The second one was gender equity in education. And the third one was student graduation in primary schools. Up to now, we've come to the conclusion that we've done a lot. We've won 2 of the major battles. Battle 1, the access. 96% of our students of 6 years children are in schools, which is great for us. Gender equity, we have done also. We have got 49 to almost 50% of kids in schools who are girls. So we are also done with that. But still, we are facing one major battle, the one of retention, the lack of graduation in primary school. Because of that, we've got in our system over 7 million students, of whom 6 million are in primary school and only 1 million in secondary school, which means that there is a lot of dropouts for many reasons. And this is what we are now trying to face. We need to improve our education system. We need to modernize it in order to make it workable, efficient, and something which leaves nobody behind. In other words, a system with 7 million students, of whom 6 million are in primary school and only 1 million in secondary school, tells us that it is not working. we have identified a lot of bottlenecks in our system. So we thought that we needed to introduce some deep reforms, and for that we needed also to change our legislation, and we've done with that. So November 1, our parliament passed a new law of education system, which will allow us to do away with some of those bottlenecks. And what we need actually is school for all, not only in terms of access, but also and mainly in terms of graduation in primary school, so that students can go to the secondary school and then to further and further other levels. And so from next year, we've got, since the law has been passed, we've got to work on a project which is the strategic plan for the next 10 years, and which will allow us to do a lot of difference there in terms of curriculum review, teacher training model, pre-service and in-service. We need teaching aids, and but more importantly, we need to build a lot of schools. And with that, with those schools where we can have water supply, schools with sanitary facilities, and also we want to be in tune with the theme of this conference, with technology. And since we are aware that we cannot do our education better without technology, all students should be there in schools. They need roof, and within the roof, we need a lot of technology, because our aims are to reduce dropout rates, which are very high at primary school, especially for girls. We need to increase the approval rates and also develop 21st century skills, quality education, long life learning, and more than that, we need education for all. So our next project is this one, education for all, which will require a lot of building in terms of schools and a lot of technology. So this is what I would like to share with you, all of you, and with all partners. We want to work together with everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. And you know, I think I'm going to get the ball rolling. There's hundreds, maybe thousands of these schools required. So can you tell the audience how you're going to go about the first phases of funding, which I'm sure is on everybody's mind? And then questions are open on the floor.
Well, we've been working, as I said, we are working on a strategic plan for education for the next 10 years. And when we're done with that, which we hope to be done by June next year, we'll have a document which will be used for shopping. We'll use it to look for funds from everywhere, including from our own government.
Yeah, give me about 5 minutes. Okay? Okay. So do we have any questions for Nick or the Deputy Minister in regard to these? Yes, a couple of questions over there. Please introduce yourself. Minister from Nigeria.
Yeah, my name is Professor Amuka, Minister from Nigeria. As you are hoping for a smooth transition rate from primary to secondary, are you making provisions for same rate of transition from secondary to tertiary, or are you going to stop at a stage, again, replan for it? Are you going to take a holistic look at the transition rate in your school system in your country? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, we're concerned with everything in education, but as you may have seen, we think it's wiser to do first things first, which is we need to move from primary to secondary, and then from then it will be natural, move to the university.
Okay, the lady in the beautiful dress.
Wema Samuga from Nigeria. Please, I want to find out the reason for the early marriages, because building of schools without dealing with the cause of that early marriage may not really get the girls in school. What are you doing towards ensuring that the issue of early marriage is dealt with? Thank you.
The issue of early marriage, what we're doing. First of all, we've been working with, we've got an organization, what we call school councils, which is a group of people which include teachers, parents, and also some students to discuss those issues. But apart from that, what we need, what is more important, is that we need to make sure that the students are there at school. Because most of the students who get pregnant, early pregnancies, are those who cannot continue their studies. As I was saying, we've got this primary school system, which we've got low level, which is from grade 1 to grade 5, and then upper level, which is from grade 6 to 7. And that's one of the bottlenecks that I've mentioned. The school, most of the schools which are in the rural areas do not have the 2 levels. They only have 1 level, which is level 1. And since the level 2 is not there, some of the students who complete their level 1 just remain in their homes. Then they are vulnerable to marriages, which means that we think that if we can afford keeping the students in school for a longer time, which will be possible with the reform we are introducing, then we'll be able to postpone the marriages and early pregnancies.
Okay, we have a couple of arms up at the back there. If we could take a microphone. Please introduce yourself. We'll take one, maybe 2 more questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abdurrahman, State Minister for Education, Culture and Education for Somalia. Honorable Minister, I have one question. It seems that you have the same problems that most African countries have, especially on issue of girls' education. You mentioned that early marriage is one of the issues. There are some other issues also, including maybe girls-friendly spaces that we might not even have for the girls when it comes to schools. Is there any programs to avoid these dropouts for the girls? Apart from the early marriage, what are the challenges that also associate with the dropout for the girls? Thank you very much.
It seems to be the same question as it was asked by a colleague from Nigeria, which is what we're doing with that. I was saying in the answering that we had in our system a very serious bottleneck between low-level primary to upper-level primary, because the low-level primary schools and upper-level primary schools are usually not in the same geographical area, which means that in order for one to complete primary school, had to leave the home area and go somewhere else. And since there are no boarding schools, those girls continue in their homes after completing the low level, and then they are vulnerable. They are somehow, they are there for anything that the families may want to do with the girls. So we think that by removing that bottleneck, because now we're having 6-year primary school and 6-year secondary school, so the girls will only leave their homes when they've completed the primary school to go to the secondary school. So by doing so, we hope that we'll be able to keep the girls for a longer period of time in schools, and with that, we'll remove that bottleneck that made the girls be vulnerable to marriages. Okay. And apart from that, we've been working with our colleagues in the ministries. We've got the Ministry of Youth and Sports, where there are many programs regarding to youth education about all these aspects of how can they avoid early pregnancies and other things. But for us, the most serious thing was that the girls, if they're not at school, they are vulnerable to marriages and early pregnancies.
Okay. Actually, Minister from Somalia, maybe you want to come back, because I think you were specifically referring to safe spaces. Maybe you have a comment, Minister. If you go back to the Minister, please. And we'll hear what you have to say about safe spaces for girls. It is important.
Actually, we had that problem of dropout for girls, and we created a program called School-Friendly Space for the Girls, which means that every school that they should have a space for them where they can have some staff for the girls and the small libraries to avoid for the dropout, not only for the marriage, but also for the time that the girls need to have a privacy for their, maybe for their time. We created a program, it's called Girls Challenge Education, which also contributed for the girls in terms of counseling, in terms also awareness campaign, and this is about the culture and the religion. It sometimes also might relate in my case. So I think apart from the system, they should be also attached with some programs that also to give awareness campaign for the communities that to be given equal importance for the girls and the boys. In some countries, in the case for Somalia, maybe the parents prefer, or maybe the resource might not give them a chance to send both girls and boys to school, so they might prefer the boys to send to school and keep the girls at home. So one of the advices may be in this, that you need to have some awareness campaign, not by the only system, but to the community, and the civic education can play a vital role. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I think we're going to close the session. Let's give the Deputy Minister a round, and an acknowledgement to the Minister from Somalia is a really important point. Thank you very much.